Hi everyone, it's Psychic Medium Josh Simons coming to everybody with a Monday message. A story for Monday, a little bit of a message as to what's going on in the world and how my work with spirit can maybe benefit those who are tuning in. So today we're talking about the sun. All right, so I'm actually recording this on Sunday, June 20th, Father's Day, but also the summer solstice. The solstice is the longest day of the year, right? So the earth, as we're in summer, the northern hemisphere tips towards the sun, and then in winter, right, the northern hemisphere tips away from the sun, right? So it's constantly doing this dance every year. The longest day of the year provides us with the opportunity to work with solar energy in a way that we might not prior to this day. I want to share a little bit of a personal history with everybody here. Many folks would know that I am not religious in any way, or not Christian, Catholic in any way, and wasn't raised like that. I've been to one church service in my life, and it was not a pleasant experience for me. I don't hold anything against Christians or Catholics. I don't hold anything against anybody, as long as they're not taking their religion and turning it into a weapon to control or oppress other people. Right? That's my litmus. I have discovered through my work here that not only do the spirits of the dead, our ancestors, our beloved dead, carry on, but so don't spirits that we would refer to as angels exist. To me, the angels of Christian and Hebrew lore are also the Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Hindu gods, goddesses, that these spirits exist outside of dogma, religion, and they're filtered and given different names by different cultures, as far as I can tell in my experience, right? So I'm not asking anybody here to believe anything that they're not prepared to, right? Or really anything at all. I do want to talk about the power of the sun, though, and this is something that I have come into relationship with just recently over the past couple of years. Generally speaking, physically, I don't care for the sun, right? I am very much of Northern European stock where give me a cool, overcast day, perfect, right? I don't like to sit in the sun. I burn really easily. The sun and I are not friends on a physical level. I love being out in it if I can wear some sunscreen, right? Lots of ancient religions, spiritualities, would have looked at the sun as a deity, right? And in traditional Western magic spirituality, the planets, moon, what have you, they would have their own spirit, right, that would bear influence over us. We've all heard of Jupiter, we've all heard of Saturn, Neptune, right? Venus, Mars, those types of energies. There are people out there that do genuinely believe in those gods and goddesses. I do believe in them, right? I don't think that we can know them, not fully. We can get a good idea of them, but we can't know them fully. But my experience here has taught me that I am doing the work of the sun being. And that might sound lofty, right, and pretentious, and I don't mean it to be. I have experienced this sun being as the Archangel Michael, as the Greek god Apollo, or Roman god Apollo, and the Norse god Thor. Now Thor and Michael have a lot of similarities in the way that, Michael is the guy with the sword, Thor is the guy with the hammer. Michael cuts away, the demons, the monsters, and Thor does the same thing, the Jotuns, the ice giants with his hammer. What I found is that these demons, monsters, what have you, they're the chaos and the disease in this world. That to a certain extent, some of this world is just gonna fall to shit, right? I'll never be a person that's convinced there's a lesson behind a 3-year-old dying of leukemia. I think that to a certain extent, reality as it's dictated, if you will, that a lot of stuff just happens. Sometimes because it happens, right? Not because there was any spiritual, angelic, or god or goddess that reached in and said, hey, listen, 3-year-old kid or family of 3-year-old kid, you're going to die and you're going to suffer to be taught a lesson. I'll never buy that, right? I do know that the sun is very powerful, and as a spirit, it is very powerful. And I have seen miracles happen because people prayed to Michael the angel or Apollo the god. And these miracles happen. That's why, after doing this for years and years and giving thousands and thousands of readings, that I can say that these beings exist, right? We all have programming, though, right? We all have this programming from Christianity, Catholicism, right? That God, whoever God is, right, is all-knowing and all-powerful, and that nothing ever happens in this world without the purview of that God, right? So the 3-year-old little boy, little girl dying from leukemia, that was done by that God, and I don't buy that. I don't ask you to buy that with me, right? But I don't buy that. So these spirits, as far as I can tell, they're very powerful, but they're not all powerful. They know a lot, but they don't know everything, right? And we can look at it like the sun, right? That the sun, very, very powerful, and it has all sorts of effect on our life. But the sun doesn't reach the bottom of the ocean, right? The sun doesn't reach the caves that have never seen sunlight. So while it's all present, right, in our lives, and all powerful, it's not the end all and be all. I would encourage anybody here to take advantage of this day, right? Whether it was Sunday or Monday, right? Because I think last night, Saturday night, at around 11 something, was the solstice. Sunday and Monday, the days are equally as long. So sunrise, sunset happens at the same exact time. The solar energies are ones of clearing, cleansing, purging, right? If you have something that's full of mold or mildew, you set it out into the sun, it will purge it, right? It will cleanse it. And yet we have to balance that solar energy because you get sunburnt, right? Things that stay in the sun too long get faded, dried up, all of that. A little bit of prayer magic that I always encourage people to do, and I would encourage you to do this today as well, is this. Find a candle that burns out by itself. Tea lights, preferably. You know, you can light a tea light and just let it sit there and it'll burn out by itself. What I do is I do this before I go to bed. I'll light a tea light and I will pray to Michael, Apollo, Thor, that energy of the sun, and I will ask for healing for people that I know and care for, healing for my clients, healing for myself. Very powerful thing to do. And it doesn't have to be demonstrative. It doesn't have to be great and flashy, right? It needs to be heartfelt. The sun is a star, right? And it's often talked about how we are stardust, that everything that we are and the planet's made up of was stardust at one point. And that is true, right? We see that in science, and that's true. We only survive because of the sun. And let me explain this, right? Everything that grows, everything that's green, harnesses the power of the sun. Plants will photosynthesize and turn the light of the sun into sugar. And animals eat that. We as humans are either going to eat the animals or the plants. Nothing that is alive without the sun and the energy that the sun brings. So if nothing more, today, toss up a thank you to the sun, right? And I am convinced that it can be communicated with, that there are ways for us to sit with this being and communicate. It's also important for us to honor the moon, to the dark parts of ourselves, the lunar aspect, all of that, right? For balance. We're in a funny part of the year now, because after the longest day, each day incrementally gets shorter and shorter and shorter until we hit the winter solstice around the 20th, 21st of December, and then the days get longer. To me, it's one of the most beautiful cycles, beautiful dances that the world can show us, right? That there's this relationship with the sun, and then the lunar aspect as we start to move away from it. The purging, the energy of the sun, the energy of success and power and victory. That is something that we all can use in our life, right? Interestingly enough, Thor used to be a solar deity. Because Thor, and I want to show the rune here. So we have a rune called Sowilo, and it means the sun, right? Often it's shaped like a lightning bolt, and the ancients would have seen lightning as coming from the sun itself, right? Because we have the sun, this great big ball of fire in the sky, and then lightning hits the ground and sets stuff on fire, right? So it's literally fire from the sky. The only source of fire in the sky, as far as we can tell, is the sun. Thor was known to eradicate, right? To use his hammer to keep away the darkness, what have you. But that idea of the Sowilo, that means the sun, that is victory, power, success, right? Even in that lightning bolt shape. I encourage everybody to take an active role in their lives, spiritually, magically, however, because there's too much thinking in this world, and I think a lot of it comes from Christianity, even some New Ageism. There's too much thinking in this world that everything happens for a reason, that everything is set from the very moment we step into this world to the very moment we pass away. Everything is set. I think that a lot of things are set, but not everything. And I think that we can exert a lot of control over that process of living. Light your candles. This is something that I tell people to do often, right? What's the worst that will happen? You're out of tea light, right? The best thing that could happen, I've seen miracles. Miracles. A miracle that I will tell you about is I was sitting with a client probably about a year ago, and her parents were from Pakistan, right? And she's in the States, and she is a law student and doing a lot of work. And she'd heard about me from a friend and was just like, I'll try it to see what happens. But she was very like type A type, During the session, I could feel her hands on fire. And I'm like, you're too young to have arthritis. Where is this coming from, right? Because your hands are on fire. And she goes, it's not arthritis, it's tendinosis from all the law work, right? Working, typing, writing, all of that. And while I was in session with her, her mother, who was Muslim, was talking to me and was like, pray to Michael. Pray to the energy that is Michael, right? Because, and this is the weird part, if Michael can't do it, he'll find a spirit that can. Okay? And I was talking to her and I was like, listen, I don't know what this means. You have nothing to lose but a candle, right? Light a candle. So the next day I got an email with a subject line of wrist pain from her. And she just said, basically, Josh, I did what you said. I lit the candle, I said the prayers, I went to sleep. And when I woke up, while I was asleep, I had a dream that a woman came into my apartment and she turned on all the lights in my apartment, walked over to me, looked down at me and said, it is done. And then she woke up and her wrist pain was gone. Right? Like, wow. I have seen story after story after story after story after story. Now, what I didn't know is Apollo is a healing god, right? So I have made this connection between Michael and Apollo for all sorts of reasons, right? There is what's called the Michael Apollo ley line, and I'm not sure if anybody's heard of this. There are chapels, cathedrals that were once dedicated to Apollo from Israel all the way up into Ireland, and then over time they became temples to Michael, right? But from Israel all the way up into Ireland, there is a set of, and you can Google and look it up, it's wild, there are a set of temples that go in a straight line. You can draw a line between them all, right? So really interesting. Apollo is known as the god of healers, right? And this is why I take this connection of, well, the sword and the hammer, what that represents is cutting away that which doesn't serve. Right now, with the sun at its most powerful, I would love for you to pray, to light a candle, to ask, to cut away that which doesn't serve, which doesn't serve. I don't talk about this stuff often because I don't want to proselytize. I don't want to be like, well, the one and truly only God or spirit is this, that, right? There could be vast amounts of spirits out there. I've only met two to speak of, Gabriel and Michael, right? Your path, your magical spiritual path is going to be your own, but I am definitely a big believer in that Michael energy. I just don't think that we have an accurate depiction of what or who he is, okay? What I want to do is, this is strange because I just listen to the stuff that I get and do it as I'm supposed to do it. I want to pull 3 tarot cards that talk about the main energies that will follow us and present themselves to us in the next 6 months. Oh, the sun card's on the bottom. And I gotta shuffle 5 times. So here's the 4th. And here's the 5th. I just want 3 cards that talk about the main energies between now and the winter solstice, and collectively for everybody. Okay, interesting. So, 3 cards. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Now, the Queen of Pentacles, this represents very worldly women, very worldly concerns. This is like my mom to me, like working hard. Now, from an agricultural perspective, after the summer solstice, through August, through September, through October, we would be harvesting, right? So we would be focused on the world, right? I also like to think that this is, there's a healing nature to this queen. And this is the first time I've ever felt that. There's something about having to heal the world. And I know that we all think that the world needs to be healed, right? From environmental stuff, political stuff, what have you. There's something about healing the world. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that. I hope we are going to see a lot of that. You know, that big mama energy of protection and nurturing. That's what this card represents. Now, the moon card, this is cheeky to me because after the winter solstice, when the sun starts to come right back into our life, that's actually referred to as the more solar time of the year because that's when the sun is coming into our life. This is the darker time of the year. So this makes a lot of sense to me that on the other side of the sun would be the darkness, the lunar aspect. There's a touch of mystery here, right? A little mystery, like we're not really going to know what's happening over the next 6 months. But this does feel like the other side of that solar aspect, that lunar aspect being the other side of that. So that's really interesting. And then the world card. Now, the world card is completion, right? And hope and benevolence and really good stuff. And there's a sense of protection from these 4 spirits in the corners. these two cards together feel very healing to me. I hope that we can heal, because collectively and generally, if we can't figure out how to better live in this world, we're not going to be here for very much longer. Maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, I'm not sure, but nature, the sun itself, is much more powerful than we'll ever be. And if we don't come to learn to live with it, it will reject us, right? Because nature is all about balance. So perhaps find time today to light a candle for world peace and healing. It doesn't hurt, right? Because even if you pray for that, you're also amplifying that energy within yourself and within your life. So that's what I would encourage everybody to do as we are moving into the darker time of the year, and as we are all taking stock in what we're harvesting, figuratively and literally for some of us. It would be a good idea to take stock of what's really important and what we would pray for, right? So that's your message. A little preachy, I know. A little preachy. Very difficult to talk about big spirits like that I truly believe in and have a wonderful relationship with, without getting a little preachy. So be well, take care of yourself out there. Happy summer solstice, and make the most of it while we have it. Summer only lasts so long. So take care of yourself. See you next time.